Justyn Howard is a remarkable guy, founder and CEO of Sprout Social, a leading social media management and engagement platform. It was founded in 2010. Sprout Social provides innovative tools that help business more effectively manage their social media and social care efforts. A technologist at heart, an entrepreneur, obviously, Justyn's extremely passionate and fully dedicated to helping business do more with less and maximize social media engagement opportunities. Prior to founding Sprout Social, he was a leader in sales, so kind of was on the ground and built this to help him accomplish those ends. So Justyn, do you want to come on out and we can begin this conversation? You guys welcome Justyn for me? Absolutely, thanks so much. Absolutely, thanks, man. All right, so Justyn, just to start, you know, everybody here I think would love to hear you talk about, as a proven entrepreneur, somebody who's taken something from an idea, I don't know if it was back of a napkin or if it was on a computer screen, what would you say are some of the most important lessons you learned about growing a business, seeing a business, scaling a business?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the lessons change obviously with the stage of the company, and there's probably 1,000 that I'll have forgotten by now. Right. But I mean, some of the key things for any entrepreneur starting any endeavor, I think, it's got to start with a curiosity. The idea to want to poke and prod it at a problem until you can figure out a way to solve it, I think is sort of inherent in entrepreneurs. I think that's just kind of how we're wired. I think resourcefulness, learning to be someone who can find ways to solve problems that don't have obvious answers, and to make solutions appear where there weren't any. Right. You know, when we hear entrepreneurs talk about they don't know how to or can't find this or that, they're going to have a really tough time. So resourcefulness is obviously a big attribute for a successful entrepreneur, and something that you certainly learn to craft along the way. That's
awesome. Would you say, was there a moment you would say early in your journey? I mean, I feel like for us at least, in trying to create things, and certainly have never created something quite as successful as Sprout Social. So congratulations. I mean, it's awesome.
Thank you.
It's probably every once in a while going to be like a pinch me, kind of like, wait, is this real?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
Talk about a moment. I feel like every entrepreneur though has a moment where they thought, holy hell, this isn't gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't gonna happen.
Yep.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna be out on the street. I've got no clothes. My friends aren't gonna like me. You know, all that stuff. Like, talk about that moment for us. Like, what was that like, and what got you through that moment? What gave you the ability in that moment? And was it a friend? You know, whatever. You get the idea.
So there have been a couple that kind of stand out, and I'll talk about each of them. The first, obviously, is the decision to start. Yeah. Right. We had this idea that social media was going to change the way that consumers and brands talk to each other and communicated, and that they both stood a lot to benefit from that, and we felt that we could solve that problem. But at the time, I mean, Twitter was a fraction of the size of as a company as we are today. Sure. Facebook fan pages weren't really a thing yet. So, I mean, that was a big bet. And when I had to look at my wife and say, hey, I'm going to quit this really lucrative job to go help people tweet better, you know,
she's like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, incredible. Well, you know, the truth is she didn't blink, and she's been incredibly supportive.
That's awesome,
but
man. That's awesome.
You know, so that's just kind of the getting started is a huge risk for anybody. And then, you know, as you go through, we're at a stage now where I think it's all about growth and execution and building better products for our customers. But in the early days, there were times when it didn't look like it was going anywhere. Yeah. I mean, we were well ahead of the adoption curve. Okay. We'd built this great software, and companies didn't really realize that they needed it yet. So there was this period of time where it was a lot of second guessing, a lot of, man, this just, you know, this isn't going to work. But we stuck to it, and we had this vision that we really were dedicated to, and then when it started to pay off, it's like, oh yeah, of course, this is what we knew was going to happen.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, we kind of have a theory at our company that every company has a mythology. Because if you really study the origin of the word myth, it's actually like an overwhelming or epic narrative. And so the reason we say that is because very often we find with entrepreneurs or startups, they really are selling a myth. It's something that they believe is true. It's epic. It could genuinely change the world, but it's not real yet. Yeah. And so you're telling people, wait, there's this thing that could be. You just got to try it with me. Yeah. It's a really powerful thing, I think.
And if you ever enter a market at the right time, it's got to be a little too early, because if you're late, that won't work, clearly. So you know, that maybe is a good sign that you're onto something.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did you ever find that you were using language and people would look at you kind of cross-eyed a little bit, sort of like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What do those words mean?
Yeah.
What did you do in those moments? How did you translate sort of from one set of words to a whole nother language?
You know, it's interesting because our whole industry is, the language has evolved around what it is that we
really
even
has.
do, right? So we've had to kind of separate ourselves as much as we can from the jargon and just talk about what it is that we do, right? We help businesses communicate more effectively with their customers. And that's something that people could understand, but when we talk about we're optimizing the best time to send social media content or something like that, but after a while, and when we got far enough along into the adoption, businesses were realizing that this isn't about like some magical new thing. This is just, we already know how to do this.